Fantastic. That was the sound of Led Bib performing for you live here on the Dexter Bentley Hello Goodbye show. Yes, we are live. Today is Saturday the 19th of December, our last show of the year. And what a wonderful way to go out with. Now, I did forget at the top of the show to make a mention of the fact that we were expecting 2 live engineers today. We've got one, Lisa Gertz, being put through the ringer. We lost one. We're an engineer down. Sadly, Sarah is unwell. So Sarah, if you're listening at home there, we wish you well. And I've always found that the best cure for any kind of illness, especially a hangover, is a little bit of blasting music. And you had a double dose of alto saxophones there. Joining me now on the microphones, I have at least one of Led Bib, Mark Holub. How are you, Mark?
Great, yeah.
Lovely to have you here. Look, if anyone else wants to talk, I'm going to put these mics up in your direction. Get towards them. We have Mark, Pete, Chris, Liren and Toby. Thank you so much for coming in to play live. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here in the room.
Thank you.
You're in town because you're at the Vortex. You played a night last night. You've got another one tonight. Is it sold out?
I think there's a few tickets left, but you would have to be quick.
And it's going to have to be doubly quick now because I'm sure all the listeners will be online trying to get hold of those tickets as we speak. The Vortex, that's a venue that's close to your heart.
Yeah, I mean, we played our first album launch there, which was around 10 years ago, I think. And it was actually before the club was even open. They didn't have a bar or anything, and we had to do some dodgy thing with donations at the door and donations for the beer and all this sort of stuff.
It looked a little bit like a hospital at that point.
Yeah, it looked like a hospital, yeah. And we played a lot of other places in London through the years, and doing more the classical South Bank route and all sorts of things. But we always sort of come back to the Vortex, and it's nice. It's the home crowd, even though it's not necessarily home for me anymore. And definitely playing there last night, it was like, wow, we're back, and it felt really nice. And tonight's going to be even better.
You allude there to the fact that there's sort of perhaps the more regular routes for jazz music would be the South Bank or Ronnie Scott's or something. What is it then that the Vortex offers that's different?
I think it's sort of the vibe of the whole place, the fact that all the people are volunteers. Everyone is just really keen to hear the music and to make sure that the club survive. And of course, it's nice to play at Ronnie's and the South Bank, of course, is great. But it doesn't feel like home in the same way.
Something rocking about it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Talking of which, I have to ask, I'm sure you've been asked before, but Led Bib, is there any allusion to Led Zepp within that name?
Not only asked before, but most gigs have asked about it. No.
There's not?
It's just the thing that you wear at the dentist when you get x-rays. And it used to be spelled L-E-A-D, bib, when we very first started. And people would call it Lead Bib.
Oh, I see.
So we changed it to L-E-D, which apparently is the same reason that Led Zeppelin did it.
Yeah.
So
no nod towards that. I mean, you do have a rockist kind of element, a definite intensity to yours.
Well, I'm a huge Led Zeppelin fan, don't get me wrong, but the name didn't have anything to do with it.
Oh, okay. You first formed the band, Mark, is that right? That it was a college project for you?
Yeah.
What was the brief then?
I don't know. I've got no idea. No, I was doing a master's degree in performance and composition, and my sort of master's project was to compose music for this band. And we went through like a couple of different people in the beginning, to try to find the people who were quite right. And eventually we sort of settled on this group, and we've been doing it ever since, for 11 years. But there was nothing specific. It really was just music that I was doing.
So do I assume from that then that you were all at college together, or was this adverts in the NME or something?
Sort of.
Yeah, we were, yeah.
Pete had already graduated by the time I had been there, and I think maybe Chris recommended. Oh no, because Pete was in first.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else recommended Pete. Everyone was in different years or
Word
had
of
already
mouth.
graduated. Yeah, I mean, Middlesex is a small school, so it was like you saw. I mean, Liran was like the only guy who was playing sort of weird music. So I met him fairly early on.
What do you mean by weird music?
He grabbed me in the hallway someday and was like talking about John Zorn, and it was like, oh, I guess we're going to play together.
Ah, okay. You crowdfunded your last LP.
Yeah.
A lovely idea. Was that a successful venture then? It would appear as if it was.
Yes, I mean, the album happened. I think it's a weird model, the crowdfunding thing. I think I mean, of course, like it's super great to get the money and like and to, I think some people engage with it in the way that you expect. In like we spend a lot of time coming up with like different things that people would want, you know, and some people really wanted that thing. Other people just want to support the band. So it's like, man, I came up with this really clever thing that I thought people would want. And actually, when you ask them, like, oh, do you want, because we gave out scores, for example, do you want to score to this tune and to that tune? People are like, oh, do I get a score? It's like, yeah, that was like that was the vibe.
They're not that bothered. They just want to
Yeah.
see you produce stuff.
Which is a great thing. But I think it doesn't, at least for us, like it didn't engage the fan base in quite the way that we had anticipated. But it was like an interesting process.
Well, part of the interesting process was the fact that you then took some of the professions of these people who donated and put these names upon the cover of the album, which I thought was quite a nice gesture.
Yeah, well, this was the designer's idea. You know, they always have some kooky ideas. And I thought it was cool because when we actually asked the people, because that was the designer's idea to even ask them, and people came back with like really unusual selection of stuff, you know, like a physicist to a biomechanical engineer, and then like whatever else.
A lollipop person. I mean, are the outfits that you guys are wearing on the cover looking kind of almost sort of Village People meets Abbey Road?
Spot on.
That was
the
just
idea?
fun. That
Okay.
wasn't anyone's actual profession. Although I'm wearing a postman's outfit and I was a postman. But the rest, and Chris would have been a great lollipop.
I think I will be a lollipop man someday.
Yeah.
One day, yeah. And Mark, you're with your accent. You're obviously not from these shores. You're from where originally?
I'm from New Jersey.
So it seems strange to come to the UK to find sort of to play jazz when surely America's the
I've never heard
heartland.
this before. No, yeah, I mean, I think that's changing. That everything is a bit more globalized, of course, but there's a lot of interesting stuff happening in Europe, and it's perhaps a different scene than the American one, and people are, I mean, as always,
Less
like,
traditionalist, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a big scene, at least in New York, of this sort of bebop, like traditional jazz, like preserving it, which there is that in London too, but not to the same degree. It's like the big money and everything is going towards that, whereas there's actually some money in experimental music here, or like contemporary jazz, which is not necessarily so in existence in the US.
So, on to next release. I hear that you've got tunes in the bag. Are you recording them now?
Well, we've never played them.
Right. Any chance of you playing one tonight at the
No.
Vortex? No. Yeah. Keeping your cards close to your chest.
Well, nobody has any idea what anybody others, because everyone's written some music, but no one has any idea what the tunes sound like. So
How
we
do you
sort of-
work it then? Do you just come up with a few chords and a few progressions and a few rhythms and then just let people...
Well, I don't want to spoil the surprise for the others. No, it depends. It can be different things, like using different chords, different grooves, or a whole tune sketched out. Yeah, it really does sort of depend. I mean, we'll see how successful the concept is, but always in the past we've toured material for a long time, or mostly we've toured material for a long time and then go into the studio with it, like after touring it for a year. So this is a totally different concept that we're going to go in, having never played the material, and sort of see how it feels. I mean, obviously we're going to rehearse the material before the session,
Yeah.
but we won't have road tested it at all. And I'm hoping, every session you try to come up with like a new idea about how you're
That
going to make
makes
that
it fresh.
session better.
Yeah.
And then every next session you think, oh, that didn't work. So let's try something different this one. And this one is going to work great because we're going to have all the material fresh, and hopefully it's going to be great.
And when will it see light of day?
It looks like it'll be the end of January 2017.
Okay.
But there's a chance that there'll be a small EP release towards the middle of next year.
Okay. Well, look, we could talk for ages. There's so much more I wanted to talk about, but I've got one eye on the clock, and we have another live band to squeeze into this the Hello Goodbye Show on Resonance FM. Mark, is there anything we've missed? I mean, there might be a handful of tickets left for your gig tonight down at the Vortex in Dalston. If people want to get them quick. After that, another opportunity. When's the next opportunity?
Most likely in Germany in April.
Okay.
But I don't know how many German listeners you have here.
We do have some. We do have some.
We're playing in Bremen in April, and maybe in Dresden as well. But I don't know when exactly we'll be back in the UK, but hopefully soon.
Great. Well, look. Oh dear, I'm losing my voice there. Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much, Led Bib, for coming in and playing for us here on Resonance FM. Mark, you did say earlier you were surprised that when I've played you on the show or when you've been played on Resonance, you know, suddenly you get a deluge of people saying, "I've just heard you on Resonance," and you don't necessarily get that on other radio stations.
Yeah.
So
even some
of the bigger ones, which proves that people are listening out there. And as of this week, a lot more people listening, as we have just this week launched our new DAB service. So Resonance is now available within the M25. So this is a huge reach, a huge leap in the progression of this wonderful radio station. We stay on air primarily by your donations. Yes, you, the kind listeners, you, the fans. We're the fans, the actual programme makers, but you're the fans of what we play, which is great. And if you want to try and help contribute to keeping this station on air, go to the new website, resonancefm.com, go to the fundraiser page and find out ways of contributing. We, of course, next year, middle of Feb, have our annual fundraising week, I Love Resonance Week, of which I always put together the pay-as-you-go Hello Goodbye Show, your chance to buy airtime at the paltry price of £10 per hour. So if you've got a 3.5 minute tune, it's 35 quid. That's how it works. I'm going to be starting to take contributions as of the beginning of the year. But these guys have always been brilliant contributors to the show. They are Unit. I got through their most recent LP recently, Untied and United, Volume 6, and I'm going to play for you now 3x add 4y equals 50. Once again, thank you, Led Bib.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. Cheers, guys. Oh, God.